In this Fossil Keeper devlog, I'll show you the development of the dig site map generation, where the player will explore to dig up dinosaur fossils. Fossil Keeper is my latest game project, where you dig up dinosaur fossils, assemble skeletons, and display them in your museum. Check out the Steam page and wishlist if you like what you see. I started with developing the map grid generation algorithm, showing a debug view of the cells and how they connect. My plan for the dig site maps is to have multiple map parts that can be randomly positioned and oriented on a grid, like what you see here. Each map part would be connected to the previous one, and would require the player to purchase access to it. The map generation here works in multiple steps. First laying down the initial white cell where the player will start when entering the map. Then 2 red cells are connected to that white one. Then 3 blue cells are connected to the red ones. Then finally the green cells are connected to the blue ones. It is randomly chosen which cell of the previous colour a new cell will connect to, as well as which side. This will make each playthrough's map unique, as well as keeping the maps fairly even and not too crazy. Now, with my testing map part here, you can see how they will connect. Each map part will have an exit on each of its 4 sides, with the capability to obscure the exit if that side is not connected to anything. Here you can see me doing this by hand in order to get a feel of how it would look. Hooking this map part into the generation algorithm can demonstrate how the maps will form. Each map part is given a random orientation to further the randomness of the map generation. Just one final touch was to create some form of entrance part that can be placed adjoining the first map cell. This was simple enough, where I created a winding passage, obscuring the fact that this doesn't go anywhere. A fence blocks the player from continuing, which we'll have to do for now. In the future this will look nicer and be interactable, allowing the player to travel back to their museum. It was now time to create the multiple possible map parts that will be randomly chosen to create the map with. I started with creating 4 of them, the first of which you can see here. This one is just a modification of the testing one I had earlier, just more refined. Its main feature being this round rock in the centre. The second part I created to have more of an open space, with a wavy ground simulating sand dunes. The third is tight and claustrophobic, with high rock formations to explore through. Lastly, the fourth has a big lower area, giving a sense of depth. As you can see, my goal with each map part is to give it some unique property or feature in order to try to make exploration more exciting. I want to avoid the maps looking like a homogeneous maze that the player will just feel lost in. And making each map part unique will hopefully help with that. I plan on making enough map parts so that the generated maps will not have any repeats, but this will do for now. My next focus was to populate the map parts with plants and rocks, as I certainly weren't going to remain this barren. I used this nice selection of scenery pieces that I have collated, some of which you will have seen in the previous devlog. I made many of these myself, and the rest I have taken from paid assets and then modified to suit. For this game I am enforcing a colour palette that I'll be building up over time. It uses gradients so that the models can look more interesting and less flat, such as the rocks having lighter tops. Now here's the first map part with some of the plants and rocks. Damn, that looks a lot better and more alive, don't you reckon? With all this extra scenery, it was necessary for me to consider the performance cost of it all, especially if each map part contains this many or even more plant and rock models. So I gave the scenery objects a distance-based culling, so that only a smaller selection of models will be rendered around the camera. Here's an extreme example of this working, with the culling distance set to a small value for testing. In the future I may make lower quality models that are swapped out at larger distances, but only if I need to do so to increase the game's performance. You may be thinking that I placed all these plants and rocks by hand, and certainly it would have taken a while. But no, I used Unity's polybrush system to paint the scenery over the ground, which I'll demonstrate with this other map part. It's pretty neat. You can specify which objects to spawn and their chance of doing so. You can also have the objects be given a random rotation and scaling, to provide a natural variety. Using polybrush it was quick and easy to randomly place all these plants and rocks, a lot easier than placing them one by one for certain. That's 2 map parts down, so now it's time to decorate the remaining 2 with plants and rocks, this one containing lots of scattered cacti, and the last one focusing on having lots of rocks at varying sizes, including these huge ones, with smaller plants around in patches and a couple trees. As with the geography and layout of the map parts, I also use the scenery to make each one more unique and familiar, as you may have noticed. And then because I was on a roll, I lastly created 3 more map parts, bringing the current total to 7. With the random map generation working and several map parts created, it's now time to implement what you can actually do on these maps, other than just running around. You'll be able to scan for fossils, and when found, create digging spots to dig into. You know, one of the main features of this game. But I'll have to save that for the next devlog, so subscribe to ensure you don't miss it. Also, don't forget to wishlist the game on Steam if you're interested in trying the demo when it's ready. I'll see you all next time.